In one of my videos, I I mentioned that I had a limo driver. Well, that is correct. I was only 15 years old when I was in charge of Chippy Boot in the Nassau International Airport. That was the name back then. Being in charge, that means I hired, I fired, I paid the staff. It was a boot, so we only need one more person beside myself. And what I did was hire my older sister. She's like 10 months older than me. She's not as bright as I am. So that's why I'm always the boss of her. She can't stand it because she was the oldest one. But she got the drift. Okay? She got the drift. And what happened is, I used to want to be to work by 7 a.m. at the latest. At the latest, you heard me. At 15, you know? And so what happened is, in order to achieve that, I had to hire a limo driver. Well, my cousin, who was running another booth for Chippy, she was the one who told him how smart I was. And of course, I was a Miss Grandstand back then too. And so people were quite aware of me and my ability. They were quite aware of my ability. I was really advanced when it come to doing things, when it come to business, believe it or not. Even though we were one of the poorest of the poor, all I needed was opportunities, doors being open. That's all you really need sometimes. Well, she got Mr. Rule, the Lamo driver. He had a long, because I tell her the Lamo had to be long and white. I don't like them other color ones. It got to be long and white and sleek. So he had a long, white, sleek Lamo. And every morning at 5 o'clock sharp, Mr. Rule used to be waiting outside our yard in the Valley corner. 5 o'clock in the morning it's be night. And he used to be waiting outside because I want to catch the first flights that are going out. And so if I reach there 6 o'clock, I can catch some of the extra early flights if they once they're leaving on time. And so I used to have a briefcase full of money. I kid you not. It was back in the day when it wasn't all this foolishness going on and people can't stand to see you have nothing. They had people like that too back then, but you know, it was very few and far. And baby was so poor, he ain't had nothing. Living in a two-room wooden house, no one would believe, you have a briefcase full of money. And that briefcase used to have cash, US dollars, you know, and every morning he get paid $70 to drop us to the airport. Now back then, to go to the airport, the most you pay was $20 or $15 around there. These days, it is a lot of people don't even still pay $70 to go to the airport. So understand that, okay? Sometime for extra, because he waited on me a little long, I gave him $100. I was in charge of everything. So I make every decision as to who get what, where and how. And so all them transact passengers, man, when I was young, I was savvy as hell. That's a name. They say savvy as hell. That's a saying. That means you're wise and smart and know how to do things. Man, I used to sometime make $10,000 like in less than 4 hours and things. That's the kind of money I was pulling. When I order my supplies, yes, as a manager, you had to order supplies. When I order my supplies, sometimes they send irregular shirts or irregular the shirt dresses like them. And if the shirt dresses, one or two in the pack come irregular, I was a person who was constituency oriented. I used to do service for my community as well. So everyone who lived truly in the Valley Corner, regardless if you was the bad boy, good boy, the enemy or non-enemy, used to had t-shirt or t-shirt dresses for their children. I never kept it say, oh, only us can get. Not that kind of mentality I see people display today. Everybody had some kind of t-shirt or t-shirt dress for me. And I ain't talking about one for each family. I talking about every member of the family. Sometimes I made so much money from way my markup, from my markup. So I used to go and, okay, I could take 10 t-shirt dresses and this family ain't get enough. They could get some of these. That's why everybody was able to get. The markup, look here, Chippy, out of everything he ever owned, he never made so much money until he made it with me. Until he started to close down one or two of his other, because it didn't wait to open it. I made everything. You know what I'm saying? I made everything. I used to pay my sister and I used to pay myself. Being a young child in school, I was in Duncy. Sometimes I pay my own self $500-$600. When you poor, my mother never had to work. My mother started working. My mother never used to work. My mother started working when I left home. She might work one or two little when I go to school, when school time, because you don't really making much money back then because you in school. So she might work a little day, work in somebody's house. That's how she used to do. But my mother never had to work. I used to bring in money all the time. And I was never lazy. And doing what these young girls doing nowadays, they don't have to resort to that. They need to put some pride on their life. There's ways you can make honest living, and once you is a astute person and know how to hold your hair, there will be people who will come along to help you along and guide you, you know, in the right way, not take advantage of you. Nowadays, a lot of people like to take advantage of young children, and I don't agree with that. But then it's up to you, you know. Well, that's the story of why I had a limo driver. And he used to, every time he bring me back, he used to get $70. So that means in one day, he'll get $140 from me alone just to go back and forth to the airport for that one day. Okay? Sometimes I make so much money, he'll get $200 in that one day from me. So that's why I could afford a limo driver to take me to and from work. And I needed to have someone I trust because he knew I was traveling with a briefcase of money. Only at a certain time I could have deposited this money. Okay? And like today, you have to deposit all the time. All of that. I mean, nobody used to be trying to follow you in teeth and all these foolishness today. Well, I wish I had that money now. I ain't got it. But that's why you take advantage of opportunities, when you could. Because money and opportunities don't always come by all the time. So that's why I had a limo driver. And yes, I worked at the airport for 3 summers. 3 summers before Chippy decided to totally closed down the last boot. So that's my story about why I had a limo driver. Yes.